Have you ever sat in your favorite chair, looked around the quiet room, and thought to yourself, no one told me it would feel like this? Not the pain in your knees, not the hearing that isn't as sharp, but something deeper, something you can't quite name, like the world slowly shifted and you weren't handed a map. Growing older is supposed to bring wisdom, peace, maybe even a little freedom, and for many of us it does. But what no one talks about enough are the subtle aches in your heart, the kind that don't show up on a scan or a blood test, the kind that come from loss, from change, from the strange silence that can follow a life once filled with noise. In this video, we're not just going to talk about aging in the way pamphlets do. We're going to talk about what really happens, what it feels like to grow older after 70 in a world that often forgets to slow down for you. We'll name the things most people avoid discussing because naming them gives you power. And once we understand what we're feeling, we can stop carrying the weight in silence. Let's begin with one of the most personal, humbling shifts, when your body begins to whisper that it's changing. You might not even notice it at first. One morning you go to pick up the laundry basket and your back tugs in a way it didn't before. Another day you climb the stairs and pause, not because you're out of breath, but because your knee just doesn't want to bend the same way. You brush it off. I'm just tired, you tell yourself. But little by little, the changes keep coming. This is one of the hardest parts of aging. Your physical decline isn't announced with a trumpet. It sneaks up. It's in the slow loss of grip strength when you twist open a jar. It's in the time it takes to get out of bed. You feel it most not in the big moments, but in the small ones, the ones that used to be effortless. And here's what no one says out loud: this change doesn't just affect your body, it shifts how you see yourself. You used to be the one everyone asked for help. Now you're the one people cautiously reach a hand out to. You notice how careful others are when you step off a curb, how your family tries not to let you carry the heavy bag. Their intentions are good, but it stings, because somewhere inside you still feel like the strong one, the protector, the doer. I once met a woman named Ruth. She was 82, sharp as ever, with a spirit that could light up a room. But one afternoon, while walking in the park, she slipped and had to be helped up by strangers. When she told me the story, she didn't cry about the fall. She cried because in that moment she felt small, like the world had stopped seeing her as capable. It wasn't the pain, she said, it was how invisible I felt lying there. That invisible shift in how others treat you and how you begin to treat yourself is often the real challenge. But here's the truth no one emphasizes: enough slowing down does not mean you failed. It means you're adapting. There is power in adaptation, power in moving with intention, power in choosing to stretch, to breathe, to take the longer route because you know it's safer. You don't lose your strength when your body changes. You just learn to express it differently. And while your joints may not move like they once did, your spirit, your will can still move mountains. That's something age can't take from you. Now let's talk about something even heavier, something that touches every heart that lives long enough: losing people you've loved for a lifetime. After 70, the world around you starts to shrink in ways no one truly prepares you for. You begin to notice the silence left behind when friends stop calling, when neighbors move away or pass on, when routines built over decades suddenly vanish. Grief becomes a familiar guest, not always loud, sometimes just sitting quietly beside you at the kitchen table. What makes this so hard isn't just the loss, it's the accumulation. A friend here, a cousin there, and then one day you realize that the people who knew you from the beginning are fewer and fewer. And the ones who remain are sometimes too far, too busy, or too tired themselves. There's a particular ache that comes with being the one who remembers, the one who still knows the songs, the smells, the shared jokes from 40 years ago. Because when those people leave, a part of your own story feels like it disappears with them. A man named Lionel once told me, "When my brother died, I lost my history. No one else remembers the time we skipped school to go fishing. That memory only exists in my head now." His voice trembled, not from age, but from the loneliness of carrying memories that can no longer be shared. And this kind of loneliness isn't cured by crowds or phone calls. It's deeper. It's about connection, about being known. But here's the comfort I've learned: while people may leave this world, the love they gave you doesn't. It's still there in how you talk, in the stories you tell, in the kindness you pass on to others. And in your remembering, they live on. Grief, when named, becomes less frightening It stops being something you avoid and starts being something you can walk with. Like an old companion that reminds you just how deeply you've loved and been loved. So if you're feeling that ache today, know this: you are not alone. Not in your pain, not in your memories, and certainly not in your strength to keep going. You might not notice it at first. The distance, it doesn't arrive with a slammed door or a harsh word. It drifts in quietly like fog. One day you're sharing meals, helping with homework, answering phone calls in the middle of the night, and then slowly the calls become texts. Then the texts become silent. And suddenly you're realizing you've gone days, maybe even weeks, without truly talking to the people who once filled your days. One of the most unexpected and painful parts of aging after 70 is this quiet emotional distance from your own family. It's not that they've stopped loving you, not at all. It's just that life has a way of sweeping people up. Work deadlines, growing kids home, repairs and appointments, you know how it goes, because you once lived that life too. You understand. You remember rushing from place to place with barely time to breathe. But understanding it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, and it's not always about absence. Sometimes they're there, but they feel far away. They rush through visits. They smile, but their eyes are elsewhere. They ask how you are, but not in the way they used to, not with curiosity, not with time to listen. And that right there creates the ache. A woman named Della once told me about her daughter who lives just 15 minutes away. "She's a good woman," Della said. "She's raising 3 boys, she works full-time, she's tired. I know all that, but sometimes I just want her to sit and drink tea with me and not be looking at the clock." Della wasn't angry, just wistful, because being remembered is not the same as being included. And many seniors feel that shift. You become a visit to check off the list, a call to return when convenient, the center of the family once and now a quiet edge. But here's the truth: just because the world around you moves faster doesn't mean you've stopped mattering. And while you can't chase after time you didn't take away, you can build bridges in new ways. Write a card instead of waiting for a call. Send an old photo and a memory. Share a story they've never heard, not to cling, but to connect. Because you still hold something they need, even if they don't always know it yet. Perspective, calm history, love without condition. Sometimes the distance isn't even just emotional, it's generational. You watch your grandkids grow up in a digital world that you don't quite recognize. They're glued to screens, speak in abbreviations, and move through life at warp speed. You want to talk, but you're unsure how to bridge the gap. That feeling that you're fading into the background isn't a failure on your part. It's a result of a culture that often forgets how to slow down and truly listen to its elders. But that's why your voice matters more than ever. Speak even when you're not sure they're listening. Tell your stories. Teach by example. Remind them that life isn't just about speed, it's about depth. And depth is what you bring to the table in abundance. Now let's talk about something even more elusive. A shift that happens not inside your home, but in the world beyond your doorstep. There's a moment sometime after 70 when you begin to look around and think, this place used to feel like mine. And now it feels unfamiliar. The streets are louder, the stores are different, the technology is confusing. People don't smile as much. They don't greet you. They don't even seem to see you. It's one of the hardest changes, watching the world you once understood slowly transform into something unrecognizable. I remember a man named Edgar who used to own a small shoe repair shop. He told me how just 10 years ago, people would stop in, even if they didn't need anything, just to say hello. Now, he said, I walk that same street and people pass by without looking up. His shop is gone now, replaced by a modern cafe with loud music and tables full of people staring at phones. He chuckled when he told me about it, but his eyes told a different story, a quiet morning. Not just for his shop, but for the rhythm of life that used to bring connection, not just convenience. This isn't just nostalgia. It's grief for a kind of world that's slowly faded away. The kind where neighbors knew your name, where phones had cords and conversations had pauses. The kind where you didn't need to be online to feel involved. And when that world changes, it can make even familiar places feel lonely. And it's not just about the buildings or the devices. It's the values, the loss of manners, the pace, the way people seem more distracted, less grounded. You start to feel like a stranger in your own timeline, like the present is rushing by while you're still holding on to what felt meaningful. But here's the power you still have, and it's greater than you think you are. The keeper of a slower wisdom. A wisdom that says, look someone in the eye, that says, listen all the way through, that says, pause before you speak. Those values are rare now, but they are not lost. They live in you. So don't shrink from a world that moves fast. Be the reason it slows down, even if only for a moment. Greet your neighbors, even if they don't always greet you back. Tell the cashier they're doing a good job. Look a child in the eye and smile. These aren't small acts. They are resistance against becoming invisible. And the truth is, you're not invisible. You are a lighthouse, standing still while the waves crash and the winds shift, and still your light shines. It starts with the smallest things. A drawer that suddenly feels heavy to open, a sock that's harder to reach, a zipper that takes more tries than it used to. Struggling with everyday tasks that were once automatic that might be the quietest shock of all. And it can hit harder than expected because these aren't the big milestones of aging people prepare you for. These are the little things. The things that made you feel capable, independent. The things you used to do without thinking. Now they demand thought and patience and sometimes help. You go to tie your shoe and realize your back doesn't bend like it once did. You try to pour coffee and notice your hand trembles just enough to spill a few drops. You attempt to stand up from a soft couch, and for the first time it takes more than one push. These changes don't always hurt physically, but they do tug at your pride. Because what's really being challenged isn't just your body, it's your identity. You've spent a lifetime doing for others, relying on your own two hands, and now needing help can feel like a step backwards, a small surrender. It's frustrating not because you expect to be young forever, but because the decline creeps in like a whisper, not a shout. Slowly enough that you almost doubt yourself until one day the pattern is too clear to ignore. A gentleman named Walter, age 81, shared this moment with me once. He said, I sat down to tie my shoe and realized I couldn't breathe comfortably bent over. I'd never thought about it before, it just worked. But that day I had to sit back up and catch my breath, and I remember thinking, when did that start? His voice didn't carry anger, just wonder, a little sadness, and then a quiet acceptance. Because here's what he did next. He bought a long-handled shoehorn. He didn't dwell, he adapted. And that, my friend, is the unspoken courage of aging. The hundreds of small adjustments, the patience it takes to pace yourself, the grace it takes to ask for help without shame. You don't have to pretend it's easy, but don't mistake adapting for weakness. Every tool you use to support yourself, whether it's a cane, a shower chair, or a helping hand, is a testament to your resilience. A badge that says, I'm still here, still moving, still choosing to face the day. Because the only real loss comes when we stop trying. And if you're still adjusting, even if it's slower, even if it's harder, you haven't lost a thing. You're winning quietly every time you keep going. Now let's talk about one final truth, one that cuts to the core for so many, but rarely gets acknowledged. It's the feeling of becoming invisible in a fast-moving world. You don't disappear overnight, but slowly you start to feel it. The waiter speaks to your younger companion instead of you. The cashier rushes through your transaction without making eye contact. Your questions at the doctor's office get short answers or, worse, brushed aside. Even when you're dressed neatly, alert, and smiling, people sometimes talk over you, around you, or not at all. It's not that you've changed, it's that the world stopped looking. And that can be the most painful part, not being mistreated, but being unnoticed. Being seen not as a person, but as a category. Old, senior, retired. As if those labels define all of you. But you know better. You are still full of life, full of insight, full of stories. You've loved, lost, built, broken, rebuilt again. You've raised children, fixed engines, stitched clothes, written letters, healed wounds, emotional and physical. You've survived times that would rattle today's youth. You carry the kind of wisdom that doesn't fit into a trending TikTok video. So why does the world treat you like you're done? The truth is, our society doesn't always know how to honor aging. It worships speed, youth, novelty. But that doesn't mean you don't matter. In fact, it means you matter more. Because you, dear viewer, are a lighthouse, still standing through every storm, still shining whether anyone acknowledges it or not. There's power in that. If you feel unseen, speak anyway. Tell your story. Offer your opinion. Show up at the meeting, the gathering, the dinner table, not to demand space, but to remind others what real presence looks like. A woman named Joyce, 86, once told me I used to think people stopped seeing me because I got old. But then I realized I stopped showing them who I was. Now I wear red lipstick again. I give compliments. I laugh loud. I let them know I'm still here. That's not attention seeking. That's life affirming, and it's yours to claim. Getting older isn't about fading into the background. It's about stepping into a new kind of spotlight, one you light yourself. And as we close this journey through the 7 hardest parts of growing older, after 70, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not alone. You are not weak for feeling grief, frustration, or distance. You are not invisible, no matter how the world may treat you. You are powerful, wise, seasoned, and still growing, because growth doesn't end at 70 or 80 or 90. It simply changes shape. So whether you're facing physical changes, emotional shifts, or the ache of missing what used to be, you are walking a path that takes more strength than most people will ever understand. And the fact that you're here listening, reflecting, still learning, that's a testament to your character. Thank you for sharing your time with me. If anything in this video touched your heart, I invite you to leave a comment. Tell me what resonated with you most. What experience do you carry that others might need to hear? If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep creating thoughtful, encouraging content just for you and others like you who deserve to be seen and heard. Here's to living fully at any age. Here's to you. You are not done. You are becoming every single day.